This will be our fourth move in 10 years.
Backwards.
But money's fine, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's romantic. I bet he's sweet, right?
Well, I mean, yeah.
France's top film awards announced their nominations. Home is not necessarily where the heart is in The Nest, and race, romance and artistic ambition collide in Malcolm and Marie. Well, that's all coming up in today's film show, and our critic Lisa Nesselson joins us to talk us through it. Hi, Lisa. Now, we're starting with what are France's equivalent of the Oscars, the César. They've announced the nominees for a ceremony they plan to hold on March 12th, which could have people in attendance or maybe not. Tell us more about the nominations, though.
Well, French cinemas were shut roughly half the year in 2020. And so the members of the Césars Academy had 125 feature films to choose from. That's less than half the number of French releases the year before, which was the year before COVID-19. So the 4,291 members of the César Academy eligible to vote will be choosing one of these 5 titles as best film. Love Affairs has the most nominations with 13. It's already won the Lumière from the Lumière Academy of Foreign Journalists in France as Best Film of the Year, and also the Listener's Prize from the longest-running arts program in France on French radio, The Mask and the Quill. It is a delightful ensemble piece whose French title translates as The Things We Say, The Things We Do. So there's a little bit of a contrast and dichotomy there. Bye Morons has 12 nominations. This is Albert Dupontel's dark comedy about how you can work hard, be honest and dedicated, and still get completely screwed by society. And it really speaks to contemporary French life, and it sold lots and lots of tickets in the short 10-day release window it had before lockdown cut its career short. Summer of '85 is the prolific François Ozon's 19th or 20th film. It has 12 nominations. It's adapted from a novel that was written over 40 years ago, and it's set in the 1980s in a French seaside town, and it's the story of 2 young men who fall in love and what happens. My Lover, My Donkey, and I has 8 nominations. Now, this is a bittersweet comedy written and directed by a woman about adultery and the healing power of the great outdoors. And then there's Adolescent by Sebastian Lifshitz. Now, this is a documentary. It has 6 nominations, and it's a very, very special documentary in that he followed 2 girls. He just picked them at random, and he lucked out from age 13 to age 18. And so we see 4 or 5 years in their lives with their families and what leads to a career choice, talking about boys, conflict with your family, and also during the years of the major terror attacks here in France and the election of Emmanuel Macron. Now, most film-producing nations have their own awards, and we only have this shorthand to call them the French Oscars. That's a little misleading in that it is very, very, very nice to be nominated for a César, but it doesn't have that whammy of an impact on your career that winning an Oscar would. It's literary prizes that matter here in France.
That's true. There is a bit of a difference. Now, the César are ordinarily a glamorous event for grown-ups, let's say. But this year, the organisers have decided to invite high school students to participate in the awards. Explain how.
Well, yes, 1,500 French high school students will vote on Best Picture to award their own César. And I think that's both wonderful and amusing, since I'm sure there are ratings boards in other countries that wouldn't find some of this material suitable for teenagers.
Okay. Well, this next film won the top prize last September at the American Film Festival here in Deauville. It's bypassing cinemas, which are still closed here in France, to show on the French home video service Canal Play. I've heard good things about it too. It's called The Nest. Tell us more.
Well, it not only won the Grand Jury Prize for writer-director Sean Durkin, it also won the Revelation Prize and the Critics' Jury Prize. And although prizes don't always point to excellence, in this case, they do. This is a complex, ambitious, extremely well-acted drama for grown-ups, set in the 1980s, a bit in the U.S. and upstate New York, but mostly in England. Jude Law plays Rory, a British commodities broker with an American wife and 2 kids who decides to return to England to partake of what he sees as opportunities. Now, these are the go-go 80s. Conspicuous consumption is all the rage, and Rory is ambitious. When Allison, his wife, who enjoyed her work at the local stable in New York, arrives in England with the children, well, they learn they'll be living in a big, borderline sinister house out in the country. Now, the house has drawbacks, as in costly and suitable for shooting a horror film. But Rory is thinking big, positive thoughts. He was born to wheel and deal. Let's just say he may not be as good at his job as he thinks he is, and the marriage we're observing may be built on a different foundation than we've been led to believe.
Intriguing. Well, let's see for ourselves. Here's a look at The Nest.
You have nothing, Rory. We have nothing. It's horrible here. No one is the same here.
There's nothing
is the same
with
here.
this house.
People seem to want everything and expect every need to be fulfilled.
What is happening? You're all strangers to me right now, all of you.
You're embarrassing.
And you're exhausting.
It's what we always wanted.
Well, it certainly looks stressful, but Lisa, what makes it so involving as a film?
Well, you know, if we're lucky in our lives, when problems arise, we only get hit with 1 at a time, 2 at most. So unless you're a citizen of Pompeii in AD 79, you can usually dig yourself out. I'd hate to give anything away, but more than one problem materializes as the film proceeds. The acting is outstanding. What a meaty, wide-ranging role for Carrie Coon. Jude Law really shines. Durkin made the also eerie psychodrama Marcy May Marlene a decade ago. I wish he worked a bit faster, but The Nest was worth the wait.
Okay, well, on to another intense relationship in a film that's just been released on Netflix. Malcolm and Marie was written quickly and filmed in 2 weeks by Sam Levinson during lockdown in California. Now, opposite John David Washington, it stars Zendaya, who won an Emmy for her ongoing performance in the HBO series Euphoria, which is also directed by Levinson. What's your verdict on Malcolm and Marie, Lisa?
Well, the couple come home to a striking rented house after the well-received premiere of Malcolm's movie, a story he wrote and directed about a young drug addict. He's in the mood to celebrate, but Marie is upset because he thanked everybody under the sun in his speech except her. And it turns out he drew heavily on her real-life struggles with addiction to craft the film's story. I admire anybody who took the plunge and shot a feature film under lockdown conditions, and I cheer for shooting on 35mm celluloid as opposed to digital and black and white to boot. But if you're going to tell a longish story about 2 characters, only 2 characters, then at least one of them had better be riveting and the performances had better be super compelling. 1 location, 2 people, and 1 multi-pronged and prolonged argument. I wanted to care about Malcolm and Marie and their supposedly fascinating hot and cold relationship, but for most of the running time, I didn't.
Okay, well, let's have a look at this couple and at their lovely home.
I feel like once you know someone is there for you and once you know they love you, you never actually think of them again.
That's not true.
It's until you're about to lose someone that you finally pay attention.
Is that what this is?
What?
Is what you're threatening. If I don't apologize, I'm going to lose you?
I'm not looking for an apology, Malcolm.
Well, what do you want, a screenplay credit?
Don't be cruel.
So, Lisa, this film has got quite mixed reviews, but also awards buzz. Can you sketch out the pros and cons of it?
Well, the setup has real potential, but the dialogue comes across, not there, but trust me, as if it was fed into a profanity-generating algorithm. Netflix says you should be at least 16 to watch this. Profanity can be very effective, but not if it's used in what seems like every sentence. So I found it bleeping exhausting to keep hearing them say, bleeping, not bleep you, but bleeping this and bleeping that. I can't say I gave a flying bleep about this relationship. What should have been right up my alley, though, is that Malcolm flies off the handle about somebody described only as the white lady from the LA Times, who really liked the film, but whose positive review he tears to pieces because he thinks it's unfair for him to be compared to favorably Spike Lee and Barry Jenkins and John Singleton just because they're black and so is he. He wants to be compared to great filmmakers who happen to be white. It's a very pertinent argument, except that Malcolm is such an ornery, ungrateful fellow that he just comes across as obnoxious. Sam Levinson's white, Malcolm and Marie are black. The proper response to this is, so what? All that matters, or should matter, is whether the film works. Is it convincing? For me, not particularly. Is it entertaining? On and off. Is it nice to look at? Pretty much. Zendaya was the inspiration for a Barbie doll in 2015 when she was 18, but she's no Barbie doll. It was her idea to try and make a movie that would respect COVID protocols so the crew of the TV series Euphoria wouldn't be out of work. That's truly admirable.
Indeed, not many people have achieved it. Well, finally, for our very tiny viewers, the 14th edition of the annual Tout Petit Cinema Festival is taking place in person, unfortunately not in person, at the Forum des Images in Paris due to the health crisis. But the organisers have found a way to provide a treat for very young children and their parents. Tell us more.
Well, I mention this every chance I get because it's so constructive and relatively simple. 25% of the movie screens in all of Europe are in France. So France has thought about where the audiences of the future will come from by starting young, of course, very young. The Forum des Images handpicks films, old and new, that will appeal to youngsters from just 18 months through age 4. And with a trusted adult, those kids learn how much fun a big screen in the dark can be. They'll build happy memories and, one hopes, develop a film-going habit they'll carry on for a lifetime. Now, the Forum commissioned original musical scores for 8 cine concerts, and they decided to go ahead with 3 of the 8, and you will be able to watch them free of charge online with specific dates, February 14th, 21st, and 28th.
That's definitely a very good idea for lockdown entertainment. Thank you very much for that roundup, Lisa. We'll leave you with a snippet from the ciné-concert for Amis pour la vie, Friends for Life. Remember, you can get more movie news on our website. We're also on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. There's more news coming up on France 24 just after this.